Hey everyone, welcome back to the Lo-Fi Life. I'm Leslie, and if you're new here, this is my Budget With Me series. So for this video, I wanted to take a look at how I revamped my budget for 2026 because I am doing stuff a little bit different this year. And if I sound a little bit off, it's because I've actually been sick all week. So hopefully I will get through this before my throat gives out from talking. But anyway, let's jump into some of the changes that I've made for 2026. So if you've seen any of my other Budget With Me videos, I have a lot of budget categories. I have probably 20, 22, it's quite a few. But the reason is I wanted to track and make sure I knew where every single dollar that I was spending was going. So I wanted to make sure the categories were separate enough so that I could see exactly what I needed to work on. But I've been doing that for about 2 years now. So I did it for all of 2024, all of 2025. So I have a pretty good idea of where my dollars are going, and that it's just kind of tedious to be dividing everything up so specifically into so many categories. So that's why I decided to combine some of my categories and make things a little easier on myself, but still keep an eye on where my money is going. So what are some of the downsides and some of the problems that I had with redoing my budget categories? So I have my notes here just to make sure I don't leave anything out. So one thing that kind of sucks about combining some of these is that needs and wants are actually combined in some of these categories now. So previously, for example, I separated my daughter's wants and needs into two separate categories, but there's so much gray area between those, especially with the kid, that a lot of her wants are kind of needs. I mean, I guess I can get by with buying her 0 toys, but I think kids should at least have a few toys. So that's definitely a gray area there, and there are several other examples of that. So some of these gray areas, they're kind of combined now, but that's not a huge issue for me because what I am really focused on, especially for 2026, is paying off my debt. So I am far more concerned with debt, like my debt and savings habits, and what percentage of my income is going towards my debt payments and my savings. Now, to be clear, I don't have any high interest debt, which is awesome. No car payment, no credit cards, no mortgage, nothing like that. But I do have student loans. That is my only debt. I have about, I'll have to check the exact number, but I think it's about 38,000, and I really, really want to knock that debt out. So I'm really focused on that. So if you're someone like that, hopefully you can get some ideas from how I'm doing this, by the way. That's my intent here. So in addition to that, there are always going to be gray areas between the categories of your budget. There's always going to be gray areas between your needs and your wants. So you're always just going to have that little bit that's not super 100% accurate, which drives me crazy because I want everything to be spot on. I want to know exactly where every dollar is going and how things are split up. But I've learned to adapt and just accept that there are definitely gray areas. But in general, my spending habits are really consistent. So it's not even necessary to track things so specifically. So if that's the case for you as well, then maybe you can get by with a less specific budget also. And then the other thing is that if it doesn't work, I can always go back to the other system. I have all of my notes and all of my spreadsheets from the past couple of years. It would be really easy to just go back to that system. So I will try that for this year and just go from there. And you can always do that as well. Feel free to switch up your budget. I usually wait the entire year before I make any big changes. I may add an extra category in the middle of the year at most, but as far as like switching up my budget like dramatically, I usually wait for the year because I mean, it's 1 year, it's not that serious, but that's something that you can do as well. Okay, so with that said, let's take a look at exactly how I changed my budget. So now that I'm looking at it, I'm pretty sure I had like 25 budget categories or something crazy like that. But I narrowed it down to 9 categories, and I'm going to tell you exactly how I did that. So groceries, I left on its own. Groceries is going to remain its own category because it's very important to me to monitor how much I'm spending at the grocery store. And that is food only groceries. So it's important to note that if it's cleaning supplies, pet supplies, it does not go under the grocery category. Next is going to be household, which is non-decorative. So I'm not going to include like, a random wall hanging or something like that. I'm going to include things like paper goods, paper towels and toilet paper, cleaning supplies, functional items, so things like kitchen gadgets, meal prep containers, dishes, essential furniture. So if you like when we got our mattress, something that we absolutely need. So that is the goal there is going to be more needs based. But the only thing is I'm going to include our house cleaner under household, which is not a need exactly. So this is where I talked about that gray area, but that's fine with me. I think household is a good category for the cleaner. Next is transportation. So before my transportation category it was split up into like 5 separate things, and I would forget to use the category that was appropriate. So I just put all of transportation under one. It's going to include gas, car maintenance, insurance, registration, potential tickets. I'm not going to lie, every once in a while I will get a parking ticket because the street cleaner comes by on our street exactly where we park, and if there's a day where I unexpectedly stay home, like maybe I'm sick, our daughter's sick, something like that, I will forget to move the car. I've gotten a bit better about it. I don't know if I think I might have gotten 1 ticket last year or not. I don't know. It's usually not more than 1 a year. But anyway, potential tickets would go under there. And okay, so that's good for transportation. Next would be health and personal care. So I did combine health with personal care items, so like makeup and stuff like that. So it's going to include medical, so like medical insurance. We don't have copays, but if we did, it would go under there. Any kind of medical expense, over-the-counter medications, vitamins, my gym payment is going to go under there. Like I said, health insurance. So anything like that is going to go under gym and personal care. I know makeup sounds kind of weird to throw into that, but I really kind of do the bare minimum with makeup anyway. So it's like, again, the gray area where it's not exactly a need, but in this day and age, women are expected to wear makeup at work or wherever, so I think it's somewhat appropriate to put under there. Next is child expenses. So one big thing I've changed, and I'm so happy that I made this change, I talked about it a lot last year, is that I'm putting all child expenses under one category for child expenses. So things like child care, her needs, her wants, anything related to our child is going under child expenses. So that will keep things really easy. Next, I'm combining work and business. So for business, I do have a couple of Etsy shops, and with my YouTube channel, I guess I loosely count that as business. Well, no, because I think when I bought my mic and everything, I didn't put it under business. I put it under electronics. So, okay, I get work and business is literally just work in my Etsy shops then. If I start making money with YouTube, then it's probably going to fall under there, but whatever. So miscellaneous is going to include things like gifts, laundry, my cell phone. I know it's kind of weird to put cell phone under there, but I wanted to put any irregular charges under miscellaneous. And with my cell phone bill, I have Mint. So with Mint, you pay in advance, like 3, 6, 12 months, whatever you want to do. So it is an irregular charge. It's just kind of random depending on how much I want to pay. So I put that under miscellaneous. But yeah, anything like that. Pet, so I did keep pet as a separate category. I was kind of torn on where to put pet, but then I decided just keep it on its own. So anything that Pixel needs is going under the pet category. And then finally is discretionary. So I have one like lump category for discretionary. So things like clothes, hobbies, decor, electronics, entertainment, vacations, dining out, any non-essential is going to go under discretionary. And that's another one where some needs-based things will probably fall under there, especially in terms of like clothes, because I mean sometimes you just need like underwear or something. I mean, there are definitely some very necessary clothing expenses. That's one reason why I'm not terribly worried about some of these overlaps between needs and wants, because it's somewhat kind of evens out because it goes in both directions. So those are my 9 simple categories. So now my budget with me series is going to be a bit easier to do, and my general budgeting with less categories. Gosh, it's so dark in here that the light from my iPad is just completely lighting up my face. But the one thing that was a little confusing is that I wanted to go ahead and set my expected expenses for January with these new categories. But because everything is kind of overlapping and changing a bit, it was really hard to set my dollar amounts for each category. I will go ahead and put it on the screen. And as you can see, I do have a couple of categories where there's already an expense on there, and it's because it is reoccurring expenses. So like the health and personal care, that already has my health insurance payment. Work and business, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to change that amount already because I went over, but I do have a couple of subscriptions that are specific to Etsy and actually YouTube, a little bit of both. So I do Canva for my thumbnails, and sometimes like stock footage or stock videos and stuff like that. So those subscriptions are going under there. It was pretty tough to sort out exactly the dollar amounts because, for one, these are much bigger numbers than what I saw on my previous budget. Because things are combined, obviously I'm going to combine the amount, so it's a bigger dollar amount. So it felt really weird putting like $150 for miscellaneous or $400 for discretionary, but honestly, part of the reason discretionary is so high for January is because I did get a bonus in January and I spent a bit of it on stuff I wanted, honestly. I got a new bookshelf, I got some new books, and just a couple random things. But either way, it's like it feels like such a big number, but again, I'm combining like clothes and hobbies and dining out and all of these categories. But yeah, some of these, like transportation is so high because I knew I had a very minor car repair to do, but it did end up costing like $450, $500, something like that, which wasn't too bad because I have expected that expense for a while now. I just kept putting it off. And then so savings and retirement and investing for this month, I just put $1,000 for each, so retirement, savings, and investing, because like I said, I did get that bonus at work, and so I'm going to be putting a little bit extra into everything, and I'm really working on those student loans this year. So I was going to talk a bit about the difference, like how my 2025 versus 2024, like how all of that compares, but I didn't want to make this video too crazy long. I mostly just wanted to talk about the budget categories, so I am going to do that in a separate video that I will post probably next week. But yeah, so that is how I have revamped my budget, and I'm really curious, let me know below, have you changed anything with your budget? Because I think it's pretty normal to reevaluate what you're doing, but at the same time, I know people get kind of stuck in their way of budgeting, like not in a bad way, just you get used to what works for you. So let me know if you are changing your way of budgeting and what you're doing. I'm very curious to hear. So if you did like this video, I do a lot of content like this and my budget with me's, budget stuff, living simply, all of that. So definitely subscribe to my channel, give me a like and a comment, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.